Well, we obviously focused on the next wave of support. As we've always said, our economic support package was scalable, and as the situation and the economic impact continued to evolve, our response continued to evolve, and we've already provided significant support to many businesses around Australia. We've provided significant support to those Australians who lost their jobs through no fault of their own by doubling the level of income support available through this period. But we recognise that there's more that needs to be done given the enormity of the economic impact right around Australia.
Yeah, it certainly is enormous. The government has been trying to keep up with the rapid escalation of this crisis. But in terms of getting that support that you just mentioned to people, are you somewhat relying on people to use whatever savings they have to get them through?
Well, there's going to be a mix. A lot of people will have some leave saved up, and certainly, as we can see, a lot of people are using up some of their leave. Some people will rely on some savings to a degree, but all Australians who lose their job or otherwise under certain circumstances lose significant income are able to access income support. We've waived waiting period, we've waived liquid asset tests, we've waived all sorts of requirements, and essentially are working to facilitate the easy access to that income support through this period. And we're looking at how we can further make adjustments to better target and to ensure that those Australians who need support can have access to that support.
So how quickly do you need that third package, and what will you be talking about in particular in National Cabinet today?
National Cabinet is going to be a matter for National Cabinet, but we are continuing to focus on the necessary response across a whole range of areas, protecting people's health, saving lives, slowing down the spread of the virus, as well as providing the appropriate supports to the economy and jobs, and where people lose their jobs or lose significant income, finding solutions to help Australians through this transition so that we can all together be in the best possible position on the other side for the strong recovery.
Are you talking about rental relief?
Well, we are talking about the issue of both commercial and residential tenancy. I mean, these are matters that are regulated at a state level in Australia, but there is a conversation happening in relation to these matters at a national cabinet level, and I'm hopeful that there will be announcements very soon. I mean, in the end, for many businesses, I mean, they're facing the perfect storm, a significant drop-off in revenue at the same time that fixed costs continue, and one of the big fixed costs obviously is the rental obligation. So we've got to continue to come up with sensible, pragmatic solutions, spreading the pain to a degree to ensure that we all have the best possible chance to get through this.
Is part of that pragmatism, when you look at rental relief, the government, as you said, is your jurisdiction to look at small business, look at retailers, but the states should be looking at the other side, individual rental relief?
Well, our jurisdiction is that we are able to bring everyone together. I mean, it's essentially the convening power of the Commonwealth, bringing all of the states together to work through these issues. But also, governments, state and federal, are themselves landlords, and I think there's an opportunity for government, state and federal to lead by example in terms of the way we conduct ourselves vis-à-vis our business tenants, and I mean that is certainly part of the conversation. I mean, there's a range of options of what can sensibly be done, and this is being worked through as swiftly as possible. So
one of those options would, I mean, you are the landlords, as you say. What kind of buildings are you talking about?
Well, governments, state and federal, own property around Australia, and some of that property is leased to business, and I mean that's.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't have a list of property here in front of you, but it's just a reality that governments, state and federal around Australia, are the owners of a lot of properties, and some of that property is leased out to business, and I think that there is an opportunity for governments to lead by example, in the context of landlords all around Australia in terms of what is required over the next few months.
You've announced $84 billion worth of support and stimulus. It has passed Parliament, but do you know how much of that money has actually reached the pockets of individuals and gone to business?
Well, it was never all going to go out in one hit. It was always going to be phased over, a period, and I mean that is also necessary. I mean we're looking at a period of at least 6 months of significant challenge, and we've got to ensure that there is the appropriate level of support spread across that whole period. And I mean when it comes to the $750 stimulus payment, I mean that will be paid in the period from the end of March to the middle of April thereabouts. In terms of the income support payments, I mean they'll be paid on a fortnightly basis. When it comes to the cash flow support to eligible businesses and not-for-profits, I mean there'll be a payment in this next quarter, and there'll be another payment in the following quarter. So I mean necessarily that support is necessarily phased over the expected period of hardship.
Do you accept that people just simply don't have the savings or much leave to rely on at the moment? That one of the first payments for unemployment benefits doesn't go out until the 27th of April. That is a month away. Is there a case to expedite that?
Well, look, of course we understand that this is a very difficult, very challenging situation, but I mean making payments at this magnitude to that many people is quite a significant logistical exercise, and Stuart, Robert and the team at Services Australia is working as fast as they can, but we've also got to make sure that we get this right so that people do get the money that will be owed to them.
Mr. Cormann, but logistics aside, in your package you said that first extra payment wouldn't roll out until the 27th of April. Is there a case to expedite that now, given what we've seen in the last 2 weeks?
Well, logistics is what is driving the timetable. I mean, that's my point. I was directly answering your question. I mean, we're working as fast as we can, and we are working to the tightest possible deadlines.
Okay, your support measures, you'd have to say, have only gone a small way in incentivising business to retain staff. Businesses have simply had no choice. Government can't always make up the gap that is there. Will you look at a UK-style wage subsidy?
Well, no, we will not look at a UK-style system because in an Australian context that just wouldn't work. I mean, one of the very important things that we need to do. I mean, we're looking at a period of 6 months, and you've just mentioned how it's important to get the support to people as quickly as possible, and that is why it's important that we use our existing systems architecture. I mean, if we came up with a completely different system and had, a completely different approach and had to start up a system from scratch, it would take us way too long to get that into the community in an appropriate fashion. So, I mean, we're continuing to assess how we can provide improved levels of income support to make sure that all those Australians who are facing hardship and who need support can get access to that support. We are looking at ways to further expand that, yes, and we're looking at ways to further expand the support and the incentives for business to hold on to their staff through this period, and we would expect to be making relevant announcements over the next few days.
Okay, so just to be clear on the wages side of things, is Treasury modelling, having a look at how something can happen here that's more broader scale? If you're not using the same kind of components and system as the UK, is there another way we can do it here? Is that what Treasury is looking at?
Well, firstly, our response so far is very broad scale. I mean, we are providing double the level of income support to every Australian who loses their job. So, I mean, and the costing for that is based on a million additional people in unemployment. But even if it's more than that, I mean, every Australian who loses their job will get about twice the rate of income support compared to what was available before. But we are looking at ways to further boost the spread of the level of income support and how we can better support business to try and hold on to their staff, perhaps not having them employed in the usual way, doing the things that they did in the past, but keeping them connected to the business so that on the other side of this crisis, those staff are still connected to the business and available to immediately get the business back on the way.
Minister, can you give us a timeline on this third support package, when we might see an announcement on it at least?
Well, as I said just a few moments ago, I mean, we would expect there to be an announcement over the next few days.
Okay. Just finally, there has been some criticism that the federal government and the state governments aren't working together when it comes to stopping cruise ship passengers coming from the cruise ship to the mainland. Is that true?
This is, you're talking about the cruise ship
in
off
Western
the coast
Australia.
Of Western Australia.
Absolutely.
No, that's not true. I mean, the federal government and the West Australian state government have been working together very closely. I've been in constant communication with the Premier Mark McGowan. I've also been speaking to the German ambassador. I mean, there's about 832 passengers on this cruise ship off the coast of Western Australia, most of them German. It's a German company, and by the end of the weekend, nearly all of them will be evacuated on 3 planes back to Germany. In relation to those on the ship, there's about 7, I believe, who are infected with coronavirus, showing mild symptoms. I mean, some appropriate arrangements will be put in place locally, again in close coordination and consultation between the federal and state government. The ABF, the Australian Border Force Commissioner Michael Outram, has been working closely with the WA Police Commissioner Chris Dawson. I mean, there is close coordination at all levels, and we're all working very hard to resolve this in the best possible way.